Okay, let's see how we connect MongoDB into a Node application. First, let's just double check that we're connecting to our database. We use the same sample database as we did the other day, the one with the movies and also the Airbnb listings. So I'm just going to check that I can connect via the shell. Should ask me for my password. Cool. Okay. There we go. So we're going to use the sample mflix database again, and inside of that we will do things with the movies database, the movies collection. And just to show you one other thing that I didn't do yesterday, so we can use find like that to find everything, but there's a lot of movies in there, yeah? So just say on your page you just wanted to display the top 10 matches or the top 10 movies or something like that. So you can use this other method, limit, and you can pass in how many records you want to limit it to. Something like that. Now we should, it's going to be hard to check, isn't it? But how do I make it prettier? Pretty. And how do I count how many? Dot count. Yeah. So if we do dot count, hopefully it will say 10. Alright, fail. Does it need that? No. So that's not limiting it, but maybe the limit comes afterwards. Interesting. What's that? It's hard to tell, isn't it? Oops, didn't mean to press that one. What you can usually do, see how this works, is what's a generic thing we can use? Countries, yeah, let's just display countries and genres. So you should be able to just display the fields that you want, select the fields that you want. So we've got countries and we've got genres. Let's see what happens now. So I'm not with it this moment. Use, what's the name of the database we're using again? Sample underscore, what was it? Mflix, yeah, thank you. Cool, right. So then we can clearly see that we've limited it to 10 there, can't we? So it's just 10 objects listed, and they only contain the genres and the countries fields, because that is what we've added as the fields that we are interested in. So the syntax is you call your find method as usual and pass in an object that you want of things to match. So we could, for example, look at the first. It's not going to be as easy because it's an array. Yeah. Anyway, the syntax is find method, pass in an object, comma, second object, what field you want to select. So in this case we're interested in the countries field and the genres field. We've got this underscore ID as well. If you definitely weren't interested in a field, you could specify that as well. Just the ID is put there by default, so we could do underscore ID and set it to a 0 for off if you like, and that should just give us the genres and the countries back. I think I've previously managed to just insert some demo things that say hello in here. Let's have a look. Let's say we weren't interested in the ID of those. Yeah, okay. So then we printed out all the demo hellos inside of the database now, which we'll go on to delete later. Yeah, so the point in all that faffing around that I wanted to get across was we can add a second object here inside of our find method, and MongoDB calls that a projection. So if you look up projections, it will tell you how to write those. Yeah, and also the limit method. So we can limit it to a certain number of records that we want to return. Okay. Let's go back to the purpose of this workshop. We do not want to connect via the shell anymore. We want to connect via your application that you have previously written. So we can click on that, select what operating system you want or what driver or engine you're using. So for us it's Node, and we're definitely going to be on version 3 or later. So therefore copy that connection string. It does give you a full driver example, but we've adapted this slightly just to give us a bit more control. So I'll show you our method instead, and I've shared that via Slack with you all. Okay, so the connection string that I've copied is that bit there, yeah? So I've just got the password of demo123. Yes, that's the only difference between this bit that I've copied and pasted and my URL variable that I've created there. Yeah, it doesn't automatically put in your password. You just have to put your actual password in there and make sure it's not in those brackety things, yeah, the less than and greater than symbols. Once you've done that, just store that in a variable like I've done there. And if you're only interested in one of the databases, then you could specify what database you want to connect to there as well. We're going to write a connection function so that we can actually connect to the database, and we're going to wrap the whole thing inside of a promise, because if we want to do something with the database, we want to connect to the database before we try and do anything with it. Yeah, makes sense? If you're not connected, then your records are going to get pushed nowhere, or your commands to delete things are going to go absolutely nowhere. So wrap it inside a promise so you make sure that the connection is established before you try and do anything with the database. As I say, this is usually just a copy and paste job, so that's why I've shared it with you. Yep, so we've just inputted a resolve function, and then we've handled our errors in a slightly different way. We've just said if there is an error, then throw that error, okay? And we'll handle our own errors. So the Mongo client, this is very important. You won't get anywhere without installing a driver for Node. So this is the Mongo driver for Node applications. So that, how did you think we install that? Yeah, one of those. Let me just get a new terminal. Yep, so we would just type npm I, and then the name of it in this case is just MongoDB. That would install the MongoDB driver for Node. So that would be your first step if you want to work with MongoDB. Other databases, there's going to be drivers for those built into Node. So we mentioned MySQL yesterday, and I'm pretty sure it's just MySQL to install the MySQL driver for Node as well. So once you've got those installed, as I say, we can write the connection function. wrap it in a promise. So the Mongo driver comes with the client, so if you're connecting from the client's machine rather than elsewhere, you'll use the built-in client there. That client comes with a connect method of its own, so we can call that method. We pass in the URL of our database in the cloud that we want to connect to. These ones, yeah, just it's been updated a little bit over time, and they've got a new URL parser now, so if you don't put that little option in there, I think it will give you a warning, or it used to. So if we did that and then come over to npm, does it say anything? Just says body parser deprecated. But is that from that, or is that from something different? It's crashed completely now. Have I missed a comma somewhere? Let's go back. There we go. Okay, I don't think it throws a warning, but anyway, it used to. So that's a good little option to have. And finally, once the Mongo client has connected to our database in the cloud using the URL we specified, we can store a database object. That's what DBO stands for. And that is equal to connecting to our specified database. In this case, sample mflix. So when we resolve the promise, we make that database connection, that database object, available to the rest of our application. Once we've got that database object, we can do quite a bit with it. We pop back over into our main server and make sure we require that database file. And from there, we can write our routes as before. So if we wanted to write an insert movie route, so that whenever anyone went to insert movie, then that would run this code, then we could set it up as such. I've just put an app.get for now, just because it's the easiest way to test in the browser. However, we could of course use a different tool and use some post requests in there. I know some of you have started using Postman, so you could of course replicate some URL, some HTTP requests using Postman, and could change that to post easy enough. However, for now, I'm just going to write hard code, whatever we want to insert in our database, rather than getting it from the front end or using Postman. Cool. So we invoke the connect function of the database, and then specify what collection we want to target. Use one of the Mongo built-in methods, so I can just use insert1 in this case, and insert the record as an object that I want to create. So if we wanted to say demo string, any messages for the database, anyone? Other than hello? Bonjour. Okay. And just to check that that route has been hit, I've just sent back a string when we go on that to check that we've definitely invoked this bit of code. So you can tell me now in the browser how I'm going to invoke this bit of code. Is my server running? Let's check that first, eh? Looks like the front end's running. Whoops. that would be how we do it. Looks like the back end's running. Yeah. So I spoiled it a little bit, but if we just go to the URL localhost 3001, because that was the port our back end was running on, and then type insert underscore movie, that should insert our movie. Movie inserted. Yeah, that's just because I sent that message back. How do I check that? Well, I could go and check and run my command in my shell, or I could check on Atlas if you prefer, and I can search for the demo string and it said bonjour. The rest doesn't matter, but it should still find it. And there's 2 bonjours because I hit it twice, right? So that successfully ran that bit of code. So that would be how you would write a route to do an insert. How about if I want to return some movies? Or should we delete those ones first? Let's delete those ones first, because I don't really want them in my database. How would I write a new express route to delete some movies? Delete method, yeah. What's it called? Not just delete, no. There's delete one or there's delete many. Yeah, when it comes to Mongo, we've got delete one or delete many. But let's start at the top. How do I set up a route in Express? App dot something, yeah. Let's just use git for now. It's not app dot delete many. No, definitely not. We can't do that. No, because
I thought there is some app post.
Yeah, there is an app dot delete. Absolutely, probably we should do that in a production app, but I haven't set up the application enough to handle all these different routes. Yeah, so I don't want to involve the front end. I'm just doing it for testing purposes for now. So I'm going to use a get request for everything. But yes, you should use app.delete. I agree with that. So what could our route be? Name of our route that makes sense. Delete. Yeah. Let's delete movies, plural, because we'll delete all of the entries that contain these bogus entries for now. Then what? Make sure we got a request and response. Yeah. Then what do we do? Yeah, make sure we connect to our database. So we invoke the connect method that we've just written in that other file. It returns a promise. Remember how we set it up? Then we can use the database object to do something with the database object. In this case, we want to delete, let's say, our what do we have? We had one saying demo hello. So let's say we want to delete all the ones that say demo hello from movies collection. How would I do that? Collection movies. Yep. So you specify the collection you want to work on. Dot. We're going to do delete many because there are many rubbish options in there, entries in there. And in this case it was demo and it said hello. Auf Wiedersehen, yeah. That wouldn't work because it wouldn't find any that said Auf Wiedersehen. No, unfortunately not. Do we need anything else? No, that should do it. Cool. And then how do I invoke that? Well, I pop back into my browser and I could just type in delete movies for now. Yeah, so rather than writing the application to do it, I'm just forcing the browser to do it for us. That's what I'm doing in this instance. Delete movies. Did we write it like that? No. How did we write it? We did write it like that. Maybe I'll start and stop my server again just in case. You don't need one of those. That would be just to check. I'll do it like that just in case. So delete underscore movies. So let's go 3001. Ooh, I put another one in there now, so it's a good job we're deleting them. Type delete underscore movies. Cannot get delete movies.
On line number 17 of the movies. 17 of the movies.
Oh, I've stopped the whole route there. Yeah, thank you. Now we've got other problems. So we've got request response. That opens there, that opens there, and then we need to close it there. Cool, much better. Thank you. Delete movies. Still can't find it. Delete underscore movies. Delete underscore movies. Doesn't like it, does it? I think it might be an unresolved promise because we're not technically sending anything back. Okay, we should just send something back just to terminate that route. Let's just say movies deleted. Maybe I should say data demo. Cool. Let's try once more. Alright. Let's check. Run our command again and see if we've got any that say... Oh, forgot I'm in a terminal. That say demo. Hello. Because previously we had quite a lot, right, up here. Now we have none. Which is wonderful. Have we still got our bonjour ones? We have 3 of them. Let's delete those as well. So we could just do demo string. Bonjour. Make sure we invoke that route. Go back and check. And they are gone. Cool. So we've learned how to set up some express routes to insert movies and delete movies. So the syntax is very similar, right? The only difference is we're using the insert one method rather than the delete many method. The find is a little bit more tricky because of what find sends back. It makes sense to limit it and convert it into an array. So for example, that would return all the movies, but then limits it to just 10 of the movies, convert them to an array so that we can send back the result as an array over the network. So that will be now an array of JSON objects that we're sending back. So that one's a little bit trickier. And because it is a bit trickier, I just put the error thing in there as well. Wait, what? Let me just show them. So there's the movies coming back. 10 movies. Not millions. It looks like millions actually, doesn't it? The way I've done it. But there are only 10 if we look at... Where's the title gone? Title, there's title. Oops. See, 1 out of 10. So there's 10 movies there. If we change the limit, that should only return 4 movies. Yep, 1 of 4. What did you want to look at, Zara?
What were you just saying about that last video? Like, this bit's a bit more complicated because JSON goes on something.
Yeah, so if we tried to do it without converting it to an array, not sure whether it'll let us do that, but I could try. Don't think it'll let limit have a second argument. Let's see. So now my server's just spinning. It's probably not going to like it at all. Let's change the limit so that we can tell whether anything's happened. No, it's just throws a hissy fit. So yeah, you just want to, the data you get back from Mongo, if you're going to send it back to the front end, just convert it to an array. It's just the simplest way to do it. Which is why I invoked the toArray method after we'd done our find and limited the results of the find. Then you can send them, or convert them to an array and send the results back to the front end. Yeah. So just don't forget to use that toArray method so that you can group your collected results into something readable when it gets to the front end. Otherwise, you'll get lots of other just unnecessary information that you're not interested in, and the browser won't be able to parse it anyway. Whereas now it knows it's JSON data, it can say, look, I've got an array here of 4 items, so therefore I can display it.
Can I just see the top of this server.js file where how you imported DB?
Just use a require statement, and then because we're interested in the connect method from our DB file, we can just do db.connect, and that was what we exported here.
Is there like some boilerplate code for this? Is fit for connecting your MongoDB database to your server? This whole section.
So this is what I sent you on Slack this morning, because most people don't write it from scratch. They just take a bit of boilerplate.
Right. Where could one find such plain code?
What? Not the one I've sent you, but a different.
Yeah, I mean,
boilerplate.
I'm a feature. I'm not gonna scroll through a Slack group.
No, but you can save it somewhere, right? I hope throughout this course you haven't just been ignoring all the snippets and you've been saving them for future use somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah? Because that's what you need over time. You need to start almost creating your own library of things that you use commonly. Yeah, so you're going to have all these snippets and components and everything that you can reuse in future projects.
That makes sense.
Otherwise, you don't.
Steal some of the code that I have of the other project.
Yeah, why not? It's either code that you've written or you've learned.
Oh, okay. I just thought there was like this, because like with the Express stuff, they have that boilerplate code which you can take off like the Express website.
Yeah, so Mongo's got the same thing, but I said we adapted that code to suit our needs a little bit better. But you could just, again, go to connect with your application, full driver example, and there's their version of it.
Okay.
All right?
So
Yep.
they have it, okay.
So they have that, but I said that we've adapted it a little bit so that we can wrap it in a promise and have a little bit more control over what it's doing. So theirs will work, theirs will connect, but then they just close the client straight away, right? So you've connected and then they've closed it for you. Well, we don't want to connect and then close straight away. That means you'd have to have this all in one file. You'd have to write all of the code that you wanted your database operation to perform inside of there, which I don't think is ideal.
And
So,
where you got rid of the client.close line?
so we haven't got a client.close line, no. So we're just letting Express handle that essentially. Yeah, because it will close the connection when we send something over the server. It will resolve the promise when we send something over the server.
So what does close do?
Close in this case is closing the database connection. Yeah, so you've connected, and then it said inside of the test database, have a look at the collection, or get the collection called devices, and then you would write your code in here. Oh yeah, collection dot insert many, pass in a big date JSON object, yeah, and that would insert all of those records into your database. Then you would close the connection to your database so that it's not open and
What's
it's
wrong
not
with it
being
being
used.
open? What would happen? What's the consequence?
Well, I mean, just when you're finished with things, you should close the connection. It's storing stuff in memory. It's not secure, right? So if your app has done the hard work of connecting to a very secure database, and then someone manages to infiltrate one part of your site, and they see, oh great, there's a database connection open here, I can wipe everyone's data, or I can access everyone's data. So no, when you're finished with connecting to a database, close it, yeah. But we've wrapped it in a promise so that when the promise finishes, then that has finished with the database connection as well, yeah. So you've got two options. You can use their boilerplate, or you can use the one that we've suggested. It's up to you. Yeah. Just make sure that you do everything inside of the connect before you close it. Yeah. And you wouldn't be able to export that as it is because you would have connected and closed all within the same function. So there's no way you could export that, right? Because you would have exported a closed connection. Well, that's useless to you. So we just exported the connect function, and then we can close it later on. But yeah, that's under your projects. Where were we? Workshop demo. Connect your application, get the full driver example, and away you go. Now the only other things you have to remember are just to require the things that you need. So that's just requiring the database, and if you've exported anything, then you can access it via db.connect. So if you wanted to write your own close function, you could do that, or adapt your own close function. Yeah, we could have another function here to close. How would we export that? How do we export things that we've written on the back end? Module.exports, yep, so there should be one in here somewhere already. There it is, and we can just do comma close, yeah? And then whenever we want, we could, if we wanted now, do db.close, yeah? Okay. Of course, there'd be more to it than that. That's not going to do anything. Any general database questions?
So .connect would be the equivalent of importing JavaScript on React?
No, it's not the same as importing. No, it's a function that connects to a database. It's not importing your whole database into the application. It's just establishing a connection with it so that you can query the database to get back the bits that you want. The queries you write with these methods: delete many, insert, find. Yeah, find is your typical query for retrieving stuff from the database. No? Nothing else? Alright. I'll leave it there, but yeah, your best bet is just to try and get a working example and then play around with all the different Mongo methods that are out there. And I gave you the resources on the first day to try and research that a little bit more. Yeah, there's a huge amount you can do with it. You're not going to learn it all off by heart to begin with. You're just going to learn the bits you need again. Yeah, you'll get into a job, and if you're required to connect to a database, you'll just look up the correct methods to do that and implement it. But the structure will be the same as the app that we've got there, essentially. Yeah, you'll have some sort of connect function written. Once you've got that, then yeah, it's promise based again, so you can chain on a dot then, or use an async await, and use one of the many Mongo methods to do whatever you need.
Signed up with MongoDB University.
Yeah, MongoDB University, they have some good
They
courses.
have a 3-week course that started this week and finishes in the last day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Free?
How much is it?
Yeah, they're all free, they're always
And
free.
it's like 19 minutes each week. It's just quite a good thing to do, maybe alongside what we're doing now.
Yeah, we've had a few people do it in the past.
I'll share the thing. I mentioned it already.
Yeah, I shared the link already, but